Hey Bessies, welcome back to my channel. Let's make Nigerian pancakes. If you are the type that loves a peppery pancakes, this is for you. So without any further ado, let's get started. 3, 2, 1. In making these pancakes, I'm using 2 cups of flour, a teaspoon of baking powder, and 6 teaspoons of sugar, a teaspoon of nutmeg. Sorry guys, when I added the sugar it was off the camera, bear with me. So in order to make this peppery, you have to use a teaspoon of grinded cayenne pepper. We call it dry pepper here. Then add a sachet of milk and then whisk everything together. If you notice, I'm only whisking only the powdery ones. Then set aside and take 2 eggs, crack them in a bowl and whisk together, if that makes sense. If you like, you can add a pinch of salt to your powdered mixture, but in this case I didn't add any. If you are the type that didn't like pepper, feel free to skip that part when I added the pepper to the powder mixture. And meanwhile, while whisking this, I added a lukewarm water to make it more voluminous, if that makes sense. I don't really know how to explain this act, but yeah, I added a lukewarm water. Then you added the liquid one to the powdered mixture, then whisk everything together, if that makes sense. Ensure you whisk till there is no form of powder left before you add any water to it, in order to control the batter being watery. Okay, the trick to this mixture is that the batter must not be too thick and must not be too thin, if that makes sense. That is, it must not be too thick and it must not be too watery, if that makes sense. So you have to be adding your water, your lukewarm water, gradually until you are satisfied with the texture of the mixture. In Nigeria, some people add onions to their pancakes, but in my own case, my family doesn't love onions, so I skip it. But if you love onions and you like it in your batter, you can as well add it to it, especially as it is in liquid like this. At the end of this preparation, the pancakes taste sweet, delicious, and have this aftermath taste of pepper, not pepperish at all, if that makes sense. So next, I'm adding my butter to my non-stick fry pan like so. In this case, I'm supposed to use a wider fry pan, but unfortunately I did a mistake of using the smaller size. So if you are using a wider fry pan, the advantage is that you can as well scoop more than 3 batter of these pancakes in your fry pan, and it makes it faster and easier, if that makes sense. But in this case that I'm using a smaller fry pan, I had to manage it. In fact, this too that I scoop into it doesn't have enough space to widen up, so I'm going to start scooping only 1 spoon of batter in order to widen the pancakes, if that makes sense, right? So I repeat the process again and again until all the batter has finished. Okay, and I arrange it orderly, if that makes sense. Meanwhile, if you have watched up to this level, thank you for sticking around with me in this video. Please kindly don't forget to subscribe, comment, like and share my video, and kindly click on the notification bell to always get a reminder or a notification whenever I post